coming today. It's a little different setup for a number of reasons. Most of you are aware of the fact that we lost this event last year based on the large numbers of people coming to the State House for a certain piece of legislation. Deja vu all over again. We're probably going to see a large group here today. Appreciate your efforts to make sure you got here so your voice can be heard, keeping in mind that at the end of the day today, we're not sure how productive we're going to have been. Some legislators will get busy. Both houses are scheduled to convene at 1:30. The Senate usually follows their schedule pretty strictly. My guess is they'll start right at 1:30. The House is a different story. Even when they do convene, they're usually about 15 minutes behind, as many people say, on ABATE time. If they go in today, and if they get a quorum, and they probably will, the first thing they're going to hear is right to work. And there's going to be a lot of people here talking about that. I know some of you have a position on that. Our organization does not. We neither support nor oppose right to work. We have no position on that legislation. Similarly, you've heard us say that we maintain a pure legislative agenda. The only things that we want to talk about today are motorcycle-related issues. I know you're all citizens and you all have jobs and you all have kids in school and you've got other interests. If you wish to talk to your legislator about that, we're going to ask that you do that at a different time. At the very least, physically turn your hat around if you need to and make sure they understand that is not part of our agenda as ABATE of Indiana or as the Motorcyclist of Indiana. That's a personal question you have or a conversation you're having with the legislator. Very important to separate those. It's hard to do sometimes, I know, but we're really asking you to try to help us out. Like I said, we're going to stay pure. Those of you that have not been here before, again, we're glad that we're here today. This is a very impressive number for a sort of spontaneous. We didn't cancel the event, but we slowed it down a lot. We didn't promote it heavily the last few days. We put a few things out on the email, but we told people, and I called folks that pre-registered. I called everybody yesterday and said, we want you to come. We're not telling you not to, but be prepared that it's maybe not going to be as productive a day as we would ordinarily want or expect. Generally speaking, when we come to this building, like these chairs, this little stage out here, we have an area like that, we have a microphone, and we have an official congregation, if you will. With the schedule as it's been the last 2 years with some of the legislation that's been introduced, we've not been able to get that. A lot of folks have not been able to get that. So that's why we're just sort of informally gathering over here and talking about this. If you've not been in this building before, it's slightly confusing at first. We're actually on the second floor right now. It's the main floor, but it's the second floor. The basement is actually one, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. The entrances and exits are on this level. You can exit through any door. You may be able to get back in through the west entrance, which is out here, come through the basement, room 1, like the government center. The east entrance off of the circle over on Capitol is always open to the public. However, if you leave for lunch and want to come back, look for a long wait. I'm expecting buses coming in starting at about 10, 10:30 through mid-afternoon. And that entrance will be pretty busy trying to get through security. So if you do leave and intend to come back, be forewarned. Most of us will probably just stay here until we get our business done. And then if you want to, you can leave and not have to worry about coming back in. On this floor is the governor's office. The legislative information office is just around the corner. If you go up to the third floor, that's where the House and Senate gallery, or the House and Senate chambers are. Senate on the west side, House on the east side. The hall out in front of there has changed a little bit this year in that they've got some ballards set up with the velvet ropes. You have to stay between them. So there's a path in front, a path behind, and people can congregate in the center. So if you want to watch the proceedings this afternoon from outside the chamber, you got to stay between the rows. And that should start at about 1:30. If you want to try to watch the proceedings from the gallery, the entrance to the galleries are on the fourth floor. Same thing, Senate on the west, House on the east. They will fill up very quickly. If you intend to sit there and watch, you might even want to go up there sometime in the next hour or so and try to get in, because those will fill up quickly. Beyond that, if you're visiting, if you already have appointments, how many have appointments with representatives already? Few. That'll help because you'll know where to go and they'll be expecting you. If you're just trying to catch your legislator, you'll need to try to check in at their office and see if they're available, leave them a note, see if they're able and willing to meet with you. Given the complexion and sensitivity of some of the legislation that's taking place right now, some of these guys don't really want to come out in the hall and have meetings right now. They sort of hide, if you will, in their office, and they may or may not take appointments depending on what's going on. So try that, good luck with that, and if you have a previous relationship with them, my expectation is they'll probably be willing to meet with you. If not, they may be busy. There are a number of committee hearings going on today as well, so some of them may legitimately be busy. I've got the committee calendar with me if you want to look and see where they're happening. Sometimes it's easiest just to find, if your legislators in committee, wait outside the committee room when they're done, catch them in the hall and walk with them. It's the way a lot of the meetings and business take place in this building, just as you walk. I've had 3 of them this morning in the elevator, going up and down, so that'll happen a lot. The Senate offices, if you have a Republican senator, on the 3rd floor to the right of the Senate chamber is where the desk you'll check in is. They're responsible for all of the Senate Republicans. If you have a Democratic senator, their office is on the left side of the Senate chamber, on the 3rd floor. If you have the representatives are all mixed up. They're all over the building. There are some Republicans on the left side of the House chamber, some Democrats on the right side of the House chamber. That goes up 3 stories with little cubby holes everywhere. They sort of get intermixed a little. And then there are a number of House offices at the end of the 3rd floor, down by Legislative Services. You can check in there. They'll make appointments for you. You can call them. A lot of different ways you can contact them. Does everybody know who their representative senator is? If not, we can help you find that as well. But it's important to know who you're looking for. Because generally speaking, if you're not a constituent, they're really not as interested in talking to you. They may or may not listen to you, but if you're a constituent that either has or can vote for them or against them, they're far more apt to listen to your points. So make sure you're talking to your legislator and let them know that you are a constituent. And these are your concerns, these are your issues, these are your points. Willie?
When we do get our moment, what are our main...
I've got talking points we're going to distribute.
Okay.
There are, even though this is the short session, and House members are limited to introducing 5 bills each, we've still got, I think, over 1,000 bills that have been introduced. Some of them are as healthy as this, which is SB 257. It's about 250 pages. It's printed both sides. This is a BNB, Bureau of Vehicles cleanup bill. Mostly technical corrections, where there are words that were not quite used right, or they have to change a number. It doesn't have to necessarily be, it is statute, so it has to go through the General Assembly, but it's not any major change, generally speaking. There are about 5 references to motorcycles in here. As of right now, we do not oppose this legislation.
Well, that's a yes on that.
We're coming up a little short of saying we stand in support, but we do not oppose, so it is a yes. Like I said, we're watching a lot of stuff, but the 3 we have the most interest in, we'll pass these around. The intent is not necessarily to hand this to the legislator. This is more for you. These are notes, these are talking points. It's not top secret. If it ends up in their hands, it's not a big deal. If they ask for it, you can give it to them, but that's not necessarily our intent. We're not doing a survey this year, again, based on the complexion of the day and who's here and how many we may or may not have access to. We can follow up with them later. We're looking next session with redistricting. A number of legislators have decided not to run again. Some of them are running against some of them are running against other incumbents. And so we know that we're looking at about 20 new House members next year. There will be new people because the person that's there now either isn't going to run or is being run against, and 2 of them can't hold the same seat. So we'll have a large class of freshmen next year. The survey is going to be terribly important to find out their position. Most of the folks in the building now, we've got a pretty good idea where they stand on most of our issues. There's a little summary at the top letting you know what this is all about. And it basically says Bacon State House is our organization's grassroots lobbying activity, which provides our members the opportunity to meet with their legislators. This event is critical in the process of informing our representatives on motorcyclist concerns regarding legislation. Then it further says, while ABATE monitors all legislation, the following are of most immediate concern at this time. We just talked about SB 257, cleanup bill, a lot of stuff in there, nothing revolutionary. The only thing that would be of interest to some of our people is that it will change the procedure for getting a motorcycle learner's permit. Currently, you can renew it over and over and over. Every year, students get a new one. Most states have changed that. The federal recommendation is they change that. And there's a change here that would allow you to get a permit, hold it for a year, and then you can renew it once. If you don't get your endorsement by that time, you have to wait a year to get a new permit. That's contained within there. We're talking to BMV to make sure that we're all comfortable with that. Otherwise, that is a yes. SB 137, I spoke with Senator Jackson this morning. We're trying to tweak that language as best we can. That is basically the California muffler bill. That's the muffler stamp, the labeling thing that passed 2 years ago at Schwarzenegger. Started actually in Massachusetts with some areas where they didn't like the noise. They made the stamp ordinance. Even on an OEM, original equipment manufacturer, bike, that tag, that label is generally on the inside or the backside and under covers. It's almost impossible. It's not a good law. It's not well written, and it doesn't truly address noise. You can still have noise problems even with the stamp. So I'm going to talk to Zachas some more. Last year we introduced that, and never even got a hearing in the committee, so it died in the committee. We'll see what happens, but that is not something we're in favor of. We're in opposition of that bill. 1197 in the House, Milo Smith, for about 4 sessions now, has had some interest in mopeds. We won't get into the 30-day discussion about what really is a moped or a motorized bicycle. Suffice to say, we've hashed that out a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. While ABATE of Indiana is not in the business of supporting regulatory acts, that's not something we'd like to do. Some level of accountability is necessary with these units because they're just all over. Nobody wants to regulate them out of existence. Nobody wants to make it so that the people that are dependent on them as liquor sickles don't have access to them. We just want some level of accountability. We have no idea how many of them exist. As motorcyclists, the thing that's very important to us is that there's a very important number in looking at motorcycles. It's not just a reduction in fatalities, because if you have cold gear and people aren't riding, fatalities are going to go down. Registrations go down, they can go down. What we need to know is the ratio of fatalities per registration, 10,000 or 100,000 registrations. The problem with these units is we had 22 people killed in Indiana last year. That's noted here. 22 people killed in Indiana last year on mopeds, as a lack of better. How many of them registered? None. How many are there? We have no idea. So it's double jeopardy for us. Those fatalities count against us because they're motorcycles. They're counted as motorcycles. We had an increase in fatalities last year in motorcycles because of this. True motorcycle fatalities in 2011 were actually down. Fewer motorcyclists died. But we had 22 of these, which drove the number up. And we don't need to count the registrations because they don't exist. So some level of accountability is really all we're looking for. I'm sure it's going to be amended fairly heavily because the people have concerns, but it's a good start. So we are in support of that legislation at this point. We'll continue to monitor it. If it goes south or takes an ugly turn, we'll change that position. That's where we're at with those 3 bills right now, and those are the 3 that are of largest concern to us at this point. Any questions about any of that? Everybody get the talking bills. We've got plenty, so if you need more, you can have it. But and if you feel compelled to hand it to them, like I said, that's not a no-no. It's just that wasn't the intent. If you have specific questions or need help finding a place, let us know. I encourage you to pair up with somebody who has been here before and they know the building a little better, can help show you around. So the buddy system works pretty well. Who has been here before? Look around, look at one of these people. Try to sort of migrate towards them if you need assistance. There's not really anything to hand back in. If you could, though, we'd like to, we'll sort of be hanging, somebody will be hanging around this area. Before you leave the building, if you can come back and tell us who you had a meeting with, say, you know, I talked to Representative Sheila Clinker, and she understands where we're at. We can put a check mark beside Sheila's name, and we know that we talked to her. Or, you know, I talked to Senator Talion, and she understands where we're at. That way we'll know who had an interaction today, and we can either follow up with that later and say we understand some of our members spoke with you on the 17th, or we'll know that we had no contact with them and we need to knock on their door. That's useful information for us to have. Just check in here and let us know who you talked to. Other than that, there's no specific schedule. If you can get your meetings in the next half hour and you want to leave and go home, that's cool. That's up to you. If you want to hang around and see the building or see the proceedings, that's cool as well. Chuck?